everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Grumpy Dads. With us, as always, is Chris.
Hello, mate. And this week we have got another Fallen State band member. It's Rich. How are we doing, Rich?
Yeah, very well, guys. How are you?
Good. As always, we are going to kick off with Icebreaker Antics. Have you seen it before, Icebreaker, or played along?
I've played along every single time. I'm so competitive that I want to be the best. I want to get the top score that you've had.
In fairness, I don't think you can do worse than Adam.
I don't remember Adam's score. What did he get?
I'm pretty sure it was 3 stars. It might have been 4, but it was
at
the lower end.
Mine's more about scraping the barrel than giving people chances anymore. It's just, if it's funny, it goes in. That's it.
I've noticed lately you've been a bit easier going. You sort of said, you know what, I'm going to give you that because it's just getting silly now, So
I took it seriously when I started this, and now it's just going to throw it out there.
Yeah, I love it. So yeah, hopefully we can. Hopefully I can. Yeah, top score is what we're going for. So let's.
Okay. Well, I'll explain the rules anyway. So I searched the net looking for 1-star products. You've got to guess the products based on the reviews.
If you get it on the first guess, you get 3 stars. On the second, 2 stars, and on the third, 1 star. You get 1 guess per review.
Right. We'll go on to the first review. A lot smaller than normal. Also smelt like BO, currently washing it numerous times.
There's many things that you could...
This smells like BO bit, there's can't be.
Did I write this review by any chance?
Like Rich.
Go and look for the reviews written by our guests. I'm going to go for a T-shirt. A Fallen State T-shirt.
It better not, because I've ordered one of those.
So I've got one.
But no, it's neither a T-shirt nor a Fallen State T-shirt.
That's great news to my ears. I'm kind of going down the path that it's going to be something sports and gym wise, like a sort of sweatband accessory, or maybe sort of some hair tie, hairband sort of thing for working out, because people are obviously working out more than ever. And so that's not a guess. That's kind of, I'm angling at that, but something that's, I don't know, sort of an accessory for gymnasts or sportsmen or something, or tennis players. I don't know, but
is that your guess? Sorry, are you
it's
confusing this for QI or something?
That's a very broad answer.
Such a broad answer.
As vague as that was, the world and gym. No, it's not. It's still not right. I can feel the competitiveness from him though.
What can I get away with? I've got to narrow this down.
Yeah, I'm really going on your previous generosities here. Do you know what I mean?
It's something in the UK, something along the spot. Okay.
I'm guessing it's available on the internet.
Right, we'll go to a second review. Look at this. It's tiny. Here it is in my hand.
Are these Tinder reviews?
No, it's, they did actually put a picture up, and it was ridiculous. But yeah,
there is no amount of preparation for this game, is there? Christ.
No, you can't train for this.
I tried. You can't train for it. You've either got it or you haven't. Do you know what I mean?
So I'm pitching a washing machine, clearly, because it's being washed.
Yeah,
it's small, clearly.
Yeah.
And it smells of BO.
Yeah. It's also a lot smaller than normal.
I want to say butt plug.
A butt plug. A lot smaller than normal. Also smells like BO. I mean, this is disgusting, but no, it's not.
I'm glad you went there, because it was kind of my next avenue, really. But having minimal experience of buying anything like that, then I thought I better leave that one to you, bud. In the washing machine, smaller than it should be, and it fits in your hand. It smells of beer.
They didn't mention it would fit in, but they didn't mention a washing machine. They said they're washing it numerous times.
The competitive it's contagious. I want to win now for Rich, because it's so important for him.
Otherwise, it's going to be a league table. I'm going to sulk.
But it's not. This isn't about the league table. This is the Fallen State league table.
This
is Dan and Adam. It's
And they were given more help than I am absolutely stumped, which I didn't think was going to happen because I've been, like I said, I've been trying to do my homework a little bit.
I love the idea of going through all the Amazon reviews. Right, could be that one.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I wish I'd had Amazon open up in another tab here. I've got absolutely nothing. I've got nothing. I'm going to say wetsuit because I've got nothing else.
Ooh.
Nothing else.
I don't know why, but I thought you'd get lucky there, but you haven't. It's not wetsuit. Duncan, are you going to have a pop at this one? I mean, I doubt you'd get it with these two unless you were incredibly lucky because they don't describe the products really. I mean, they do, but not a regular. No.
The fact that this one had a picture with it, which is what really the review.
I hope you post the picture afterwards. You have to.
Yeah, I'll have the picture. It's fine.
Otherwise we'll never know, will we? We'll never know.
I'm going to go for a sponge. I don't know.
Sponge. It's a good guess, but it's not correct. Third review. Very soft and cute, but misled on sizes.
Oh, is it like a troll or something like that? Not specifically a troll, a small child's toy.
What are you doing with your finger? I have no idea what you're doing. Stop using finger movements. It's not helping at all.
Is it a small child's toy?
Can you use your fingers so I know what you mean? No. No. I mean, we're on the third review, so let's make it quite easy. You would sleep on it.
Pillow.
Pillow. It is a pillow, and yes, we will put the picture in there as well. Next product, first review. Disappointed and embarrassed. Lovely color, but the non-slip squeaks and disrupts the flow.
Yes, trainers.
Trainers is a good guess, but it's not right.
You've had a similar review recently, haven't you? I swear you've had a similar review recently.
Have we? Now you've said it.
You reusing it because I swear somebody else in some review somewhere.
Dan had one because it had the rough side and the...
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not the same product and it's not the same review. I'm going to be nice here. Flow is not a movement in this point. It's not a physical movement, flow.
Oh.
No. No. Unless he passes it over to you, you don't get to guess.
Oh God, he knows it as well, doesn't he? Oh,
well, you can pass your guess over if you want.
I'm warning you, I've got a history of thinking this, and then I'm being wrong anyway. So
yeah, he's never got one right. He's made a big deal of them all, but he's never got one right.
I don't care if we have to come back to this interview tomorrow. I am not passing this. It's going to be something along the lines of it's going to be a hose or a shower unit part, or it's going to be something with water, isn't it? Some tap, something along those lines, I'm thinking. But I have got nothing specific that non-slip ruins the flow. I've got nothing else. No. I can't believe.
Are we going for a pass?
Yeah, we'll go for a pass.
We're going for a pass.
I'll take it. You can pass to me.
Yeah, pass it to Duncan, then go on.
Bath mat.
No.
That's where I went to begin with. I was like, it's going to be a shower mat. It's going to be a non-slip mat, but ruins the flow.
Just keep in mind, it's not a physical flow, as in water and everything. It's not.
No, that's physical. What I was thinking. Like the non-slip is the design, and so there's a flow in the design.
Okay.
It'll probably become clear once I've read out the others. Second review: hard to clean the factory smell, and it is a bit sticky.
Is it like a hand drill?
No, it's not a hand drill, and the non-slips. No, it's a good guess. But
non-slip grip.
Non-slip grip.
Ergonomic flow.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm looking for this. I cannot believe.
These just get vaguer.
Yeah, why would you get fired up for icebreaker antics? It's like getting fired up for the national lottery. It's just it's luck.
I do that.
I'm going to be a millionaire.
Didn't even buy a ticket. Non-slip gloves. Is it anything to do with is it biking gloves or sort of manual laboury gloves and things with a non-slip in it?
It's not. It has.
I'm loving a fellow hand user. I want to say this.
It has good grip and it's comfortable. The sides eventually ruck up though. And we're on the third one, so You were on the right lines, Duncan, for 50% of one of your answers.
So I think it's some form of a tool.
I've got to push this through, haven't I? Because it's the last one. No, it wasn't the tool guess. It was the.
Oh, it was not.
What was your first guess?
Towel?
No. What was your first guess? You almost said it. Bath mat.
Yeah, it's a bath mat. So, is it a welcome mat?
That's really good as well. Actually, I laugh at that, but that is a really good guess. You exercise on it. Well, a type of exercise.
Oh, like a floor mat, exercise mat.
Yeah, yoga mat or something like that.
Yoga mat. There we go. Oh. We've got 2 stars.
What, 2 stars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did Dan get?
For the National Lottery, you're not wasting it on something like this. Right, third product, first review. You can't cook with this. Put it with my roast chicken and it came out burnt.
A roasting pan?
The review says, I put it with my chicken.
You can't cook with this. I put it with my roast chicken and it came out burnt.
What are people trying to put on a roast these days? Like a tennis ball goes, you know what? If you just, flash fry, saute, lovely in the oven, it will come out burnt,
I'm wondering if they've got like a kitchen/meth lab.
That's it. Yeah. Some nice El Dante crystal meth with your roast chicken. Yeah. I mean, it is lockdown 4, isn't it? I mean, come on.
This particular review, I have never used this particular technique, and I didn't know you could.
Technique.
I say technique. Yeah, I'm going to put it down as a technique because personally, I think the guy was an idiot for doing it.
If he's trying to roast a chicken on a George Foreman grill, I'll be.
No, he's not trying to roast a chicken on a George Foreman grill. But he's put something in, and I don't think he should have. Okay,
so is he, rather than some people use foil for cooking, is he wrapped it in cling film or something and put it in the oven?
No, he's not. No. That would have been funny to put a review of my cling film burnt.
Yeah. Fantastic product, but my house burnt down. Yeah.
I'm blaming Amazon.
It's a fallen state t-shirt again.
Second review. It doesn't work, but will people stop trying to use this anally? It says oral.
Jesus Christ. Wow.
It's a thermometer.
It is a thermometer. A thermometer. Well done. So we got 4 stars. The last review on that one, according to this, I have hypothermia. So terrible. We're going to be moving on to our next stage of icebreaker, which is crazy questions, random questions that we just want your opinion on. I've gone a little bit philosophical on one of these, so try your best. Is true originality dead? And are we just rearranging previous ideas?
Ooh, that is deep.
It is very deep, isn't it? I saw it and I thought, you know what? Let's stick it in.
I like that.
20 past 12, isn't it? Or half 12 in the afternoon.
That's right. Haven't even started drinking yet.
The coffee doesn't cut it, does it? Let's get the whiskey on. Christ. Yeah, I think to a certain extent, you look at fashion, don't you? And you look at, how, 80s things come back around and I'm not leaning towards the music side of it, but musically, ideas come back and they, reuse sounds and vibes. And some people go back to sort of 1-track recording and vinyl releases, don't they? So, yeah, there's a certain element of fashions and trends will always come back around. But originality, I don't think originality is dead. I think there's always a way of being original. I think naturally we're all independent and original people and unique, and people play on that to their strengths, and you create something original from it, even if it's got inspiration involved. So no, without getting too deep, I think originality is still a thing, but I think trends and little nuances
still influencing the originality. It all depends on what we mean by originality. What can be? Is it one note out of 1,000? Does that make something original, or does it need to be nothing at all in a particular order? It all depends on the meaning of originality, doesn't it?
A lot of things with originality is it's down to interpretation. I don't mean of the term originality, but you can take something and be influenced by it and interpret it in your own way. So music's a really good example of that. You can listen to something and then that feeds into, wow, I was listening to this and this is what came out of me as a result and what I made, you know. So I think it's down to that interpretation. Is that original? You could say, well, they've been influenced by something, therefore it's not original. But actually, no, it's an original piece, but it was influenced by something else and then other things mixed in with it. And so originality, I think anything original, the iPhone was a step forward when it first came out. It was like, whoa, we've never seen anything like this. But it was, in fact, a phone.
Yeah.
You know, and so they're...
Yeah. But I think, could you have two original pieces that are identical? Say two people had come up with something and they are identical. These people have never met and they've come up with two pieces, whether it be music or a picture or something. Would they be both classed as original if they didn't influence each other? That's getting too deep for a podcast. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Next week's episode, we're interviewing Nietzsche.
that needs 8 pints standing at the end of the bar holding yourself up to ask that.
I'll tell you what, come back to me on June the 21st. Right.
I'll move on to the next crazy question.
Have you taken a job as a taxi driver?
Next crazy question. What's your grossest bug story? Yeah, you must have some belters, Duncan. I mean, one that I had, that I was going to take the bins out. I didn't have socks on, so I just chucked my trainers on, took the bins out, came back in, took my feet out of my trainers and realised I'd squashed this huge spider on my toe and it was all over. It freaked me out. It was horrible. Anybody want to top that?
For my freak out one, I was like, it's not a gross story, and other than that this thing was touching me. I'd my first time I'd moved into my own place and I was living there alone. I had a flat, back in Australia. And something my stepmother always used to say to me was, you hang your clothes up because that way you don't get spiders and shit in them. I'm like, oh, yeah. So I always made sure I hung my coat up. So I've gone and taken my coat off the hook. It's just a jacket. And I've slung it on. I've gone into the kitchen just to get a drink before I head out. And I couldn't see it. But when you just sense something's there, an evil presence, if you like. I could just sense something. And I've looked. And there was this, if you've ever seen a huntsman spider, they're about the size of your hand, like that, okay?
Yeah.
Because I know Chris needs my hands to explain things. And it was sitting here. It was obviously in my jacket. And it was just sitting there. Because you're suddenly aware, it's like magnified, these legs just sitting on your neck. And they are poisonous. They're not deadly, but they're poisonous. And if they bite, it really, and I'm thinking my neck, and it was that sort of, flow of motion, ballet style. I've just done this little swirl of getting my jacket off, whipped it to the floor. The spider's landed on its back, and I'm sitting there whipping it with my jacket until legs and innards and fangs and everything just splattered over my kitchen. It was just the worst moment.
Well, there's no topping that, is there?
No, not really. I mean, you said it wasn't going to be gross, but that was grosser than mine.
But I guess, yeah, it was more the
I actually forgot Chris's on the basis of that story alone.
Yeah. A house spider in a shoe.
Never ask Australians a bug story. It's not going to end well.
Rich, have you got one?
Well, no, nothing that can compete with that. Anyway,
a butterfly landed on your nose or something.
Yeah. I once sat to a magpie in a field with blue sheep or something. I don't know, but yeah, working with food. I've spent a long time now working with food and catering, and as you can imagine, without going into any details, you see some stuff in food sometimes, whether you go to serve it and service please, and then you go, actually don't fucking take that. There's a fucking wood lice on it. Where's that come from? Where's that come from? Have I cooked it, or has it just decided that this particular dish looks amazing and is there going to try it before the customer does, or was it in the salad? So there's all those kind of little gross stories, but I mean nothing where I've gone toe to toe with a.
Is it ever as bad as like kitchen nightmares and stuff?
Obviously, I've seen some things that and I always I'm a huge Gordon Ramsay fan, and I've seen some stuff in my career. I've been a part of some little things. I've also seen other people's things in in their kitchen environments, and you go, Ramsay would lose his shit. Do you know what I mean? And the thing is like, you don't even need him there, because you know what I mean. You go, oh God, you just hope the camera crew doesn't turn up at any moment. No, these things, they happen. You just literally go, where? How was that? Has that come from the plate cabinet? Has it come from the salad that it's, everything's washed, everything's clean, and they just appear, and you go, okay, yeah, don't send that. I'll redo that, because I don't know what part of the process this little fucking thing or this thing that shouldn't be there has turned up. Yeah, so that's about as deep as I go with bugs, really. But
I'll move on to the third crazy question. What's the most overrated product on the market?
Crocs.
His answers. Crocs is a good one. Ugg boots.
Crocs is a good one.
Why Crocs? I don't understand what goes into your process of thinking that says, I'm now going to wear Crocs. Either you've hit 80 and you just don't care anymore, or you've somehow subconsciously come to a point where appearance no longer matters, regardless, over the potential functionality of a water flow through shoe that I can wear anywhere.
I hope a lot of Fallen State fans don't wear Crocs. Do you see many in your concert? Because we may have to cut that as well.
Yeah,
I was going to have it at the concert, so we're going to be throwing Crocs onto the stage.
I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but I've actually got a pair.
The wife wears them as well.
I'm joking. I haven't. I just wanted to freak you out, mate. Yeah, do you know what? Right, I'm going to go back to this cling film idea, because when you work again, such a random rant. Okay, can't they just get kitchen products for domestic use? Can't they just get it right? Because have you ever had a cling film in a box, and got even halfway around the roll before you find yourself fucking this, cut it? It doesn't cut down the teeth, the serrated edge of the box. It doesn't cut. When you're in a kitchen, a commercial kitchen, you've got a nice big dispenser, whoosh, bang, lovely, gorgeous. These home things where you try and wrap like an individual baked bean, and it turns out that you need basically, medical assistance from trying to wrap this cling film. It's just crap. Like, just get something. They need to do it better than that. That's the first thing that jumps out at me. Really, is something that. What's the point? Because it's unusable for the most part. You buy a box, you use it twice, and then you can't physically use it because it's so wound up in itself, and you can't get it back into being a sheet, and it doesn't cut. And fucking hell,
My dad wanted to start like a charity for the banning of cling film on that entire basis.
Yeah.
And the fact that this is sort of back in the 80s or the 90s, when you used to buy sandwiches and they'd always put them in cling film, and you spent the first 20 minutes of a lunch break trying to find the edge of the cling film to open it until you just finally rip it up and destroy the sandwich in the process.
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, packaging as well. I mean, the last time I bought, you buy a multi-pack of penguins. Yeah. You've got the multi-pack. Yeah. Then you've got the 2 packs in a clear film, plastic fucking thing. Yeah. And then you open that, and then you've got the individual fucking penguin. But I've killed 18 turtles for this tiny little chocolate bar. Do you know what I mean? Like, packaging and plastic is, I'm not an eco-mentalist, but this whole plastic, we use it, but we can't use it properly. We don't seem to be able to use it efficiently in any form of society. We just package stuff with it, get it on a shelf. Yeah, that'll last forever. You can.
I'm going to take you up on that, because medicines. So medicine packaging. What is it with this whole thing of we're going to have, so there's a tab of capsules, okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're in a box that's that big. And then the actual 2 layers of medicine are about that thick. So there's all this space in the box for a piece of paper to explain what they are and the things.
Yeah.
Then you actually pull out the little piece of plastic, the little pods with the actual medicine in. And they've got like 3 on one side and 4 on the other. And they're all spaced in a weird way, which means there's just all this useless plastic that's being used for absolutely no reason whatsoever. And it must drive pharmacists nuts, because the packaging is just so ridiculously big. They've got to have all this extra space, like a wall of medicine that could probably come back to a couple of drawers.
just bring in a massive box and go, right, bang, there we go. One every 7 hours, you know.
It's like Amazon packaging.
Yeah.
I got a coil for my vape, pack of 3 coils. Comes in a box, seriously, the size of a little matchbox, a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And it came in a box that was about yay big with plastic bubble wrap stuff, those big bubbles, not the little bubble wrap we used to enjoy, but the big fat bubbles, with this box tucked in the corner, this giant box. They can't post it through the doorbell, so you had to answer to the mailbox. You had to go and answer the door to get it.
No, it's madness, isn't it? Because, like you say, like you say with pills and things, and you think, Christ, we could cut it. We could cut our usage in half if somebody with half a brain would redesign the packaging element.
It's crisps that does my head in. Crisps. It's obvious, isn't it? What they're doing is they're saying this is the amount of crisps, but you can't look inside because it's foil. And then you open it and you think someone's nicked your crisps, and there's a few bits at the bottom.
Yeah,
I've seen it before where I've counted the crisps. Right, that's pretty sad, but I've counted them, and there's about 16 in there, and that's not on, right? Especially when you go back. That's why Walkers stopped doing the see-through packs, because you could see how many crisps you had in there, but no, not anymore. Anyway, we are going to move on to the podcast. I wanted to start right at the beginning. Adam, he went to a Peter Andre concert or something, saw him gyrating on stage and stuff, and went, I want to be just like him. How did it happen for you? Did you go through a similar experience? I'm
going to probably embarrass myself during this podcast quite a lot, but I'll carry on anyway. It's nothing that I'm not used to on a daily basis, regardless of context. So my first concert was probably when I was 18. Okay. I think the first time I saw it. So yeah, my musical, all I remember, okay, is I used to live in a big house that was actually converted into 2 flats. My grandparents lived upstairs. My parents were very young when I was young. So my mum was studying and she was being a veterinary nurse. My dad left school effectively to go and work for my granddad. So yeah, I was basically daycare, if I wasn't at school, was basically me having a flat downstairs in the middle of the countryside to myself, and my grandparents doing their thing upstairs, keeping an eye. And I would just go to the stereo and I would blast whatever CDs I could find. You know, I was never a film person, never into cartoons. I couldn't really, got no sort of trivia or that sort of stuff. I just remember just hitting spoons on cushions and randomly, making noises downstairs to my heart's content to those remastered Beatles records. Do you remember the blue and red?
Yes.
The blue and red remastered, like 3 discs Beatles series, yeah? And I just remember the Apple logo, funnily enough, ironically enough, from the label. And it was just the 2 eras, the 2 sort of 10-year eras or whatever of the Beatles.
Yeah.
And I just used to blast the random songs and CDs. And eventually I think they caught onto this and went, okay, well, you need a drum kit. Okay. Yeah, I'd love a drum kit. So then, I remember being 7 or 8 and then getting this Argos, those drum kits that don't resemble drum kits, and they're just a kick drum with a little tom on top and a little cymbal there, and you just smash it to pieces there's no element of any drums whatsoever on it. But I just remember playing along to the Beatles. I say playing along, obviously not.
I don't know. Ringo Starr is easy to play along to. One of my favourite Beatles quotes was from John Lennon when he was asked by an interviewer, "What's with Ringo?" Because, he's not the best drummer in the world, is he? And John Lennon's response was, he's not the best drummer in the band.
It's a classic, isn't it? No, but that's a separate discussion as to why I think he's potentially, one of the greatest drummers of all time in that respect, because he did play for the music. But anyway, playing these things and then going, oh, okay, so you're into music, Rich. Okay, you clearly can't do anything else because you can't do tools and you can't cook or anything else. So let's get you into music or whatever. And it kind of went from there. And I remember having guitar lessons, of real, obviously not a real guitar this time. With a good teacher came in and I did 2 lessons and went, Mum, I hate that. I hate it. I hate guitars, okay, which I still do for some reason. No, I don't really. And then it turned into drums, but I couldn't start learning drums until I was at secondary school. So that was waiting until I had to get on a waiting list for, when they bring the external teachers for grades and the instruments, they come in once a week at school and you manage to get yourself out of maths and brilliant. Couldn't wait. Which I did for 5 years and got away with until I was in year 11. And I basically just spent the whole day in the drum room with my teacher, helping him teach and not actually going to any of my revision classes. So that speaks for itself. But going back to the early start, there wasn't sort of, it was just a case of, my mum's record collection, my dad's, not really, a little bit of music collection there, and just listening to music, basically being a bit of a loner as a child and being like, yeah, I love this. I love making noises and music. And that the love came from that, and then kind of found it as I grew up a little bit into secondary school and found it from there, really. Yeah, there's no cringy concerts until I was a teenager, basically. So yeah.
That's really interesting what you're saying, because I think this about your drumming is your drumming style is actually very musical in itself.
Thank you.
It was interesting talking to, I think both Adam and Dan has said it, that a lot of the time when you guys are writing music, it's actually that you've created a beat or you've done something that's triggered something in the music afterwards. And I think that's down to that. There is a musical style to your drumming, not just rhythmic. Would you agree? Or
but it was very kind of you to say so. Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah, to a certain extent, I've always been fascinated with all music. I've never been I never learned anything else. I did a little bit of self-taught bass guitar as a teenager as well. When you sort of get into bands and then you start, actually meeting other kids with actual real instruments, and they go, I've got a guitar and it's a Squire Strat, and oh wow, look at that, look at this bass that you got off eBay or whatever it was for 35 quid, it's got 3 strings, but it's amazing. And just having a tinker with that, and then really learning the DIY, really learning the hard way. And just sort of, I remember going to I formed a little band before my main little band, as it were. A couple of friends of mine, we went to a barn. My mum has horses, and at the time she kept them in the stables close to where we lived in the North Devon countryside, and he let us have a barn to jam. And this must have sounded, honestly, we were doing like Green Day covers, and I was a real little punk rocker back then, sort of thing. Did the whole like Good Charlotte spikes and the eyeliner. It was, I remember going into my dad used to work in town. I remember going into his shop on a Saturday, and we just had this band practice where we're like, yeah, we're going to dress up, man. I'm doing the eyeliner. I'm going to wax my hair into spikes, and I'm going to wear this jacket that I bought in Barnardos or whatever. And then, I went into my dad's shop and I went, "Hi, Dad, can I borrow 15 quid?" He went, "Okay, what's this?" "Oh, it's just been jamming, mate. We're sick and we're cool and all this sort of stuff." And he goes, "So what's the 15 quid for?" "Oh, because I want to buy a dance. I want to buy a dance compilation CD." "Fucking just get out of here, go." He went like this. Just get out of my sight. You're embarrassing me, And it was just that love of, it was just that kind of self-made, as it were. I try to study drums as academically as possible. I'm not an academic person. I'm also not a very physical person, so I'm pretty much a slug in that respect. But yeah, it's just that learning music by just embracing all the elements that is music, and not just going, I'm a drummer, so I play drums. I'm a guitarist, so I play solos. No, it's not about that. It's about how everything comes together, and it's that orchestral. And it doesn't matter what the genre, it doesn't matter what the era, the technology. It's always about a song comes from 5, 6, however many, orchestra, 100 different angles, and it comes together to create one soul. And that's what you're listening to. And I've always tried to embrace that. It sounds cheesy, obviously, but you always try to embrace that whole element of the music is a sum of its parts, and embrace that, and don't focus on one thing, whether it's the singer or the drums or whatever. So yeah, it's, there is an element of that, but it was humble beginnings, because it was very much a case of, get on with it, and pots and pans was like, I didn't get my first drum kit. So I started learning drums at 12 by a school. Didn't get my first kit till I was 15. So I had to, so obviously drums are, anybody out there who's got children with drums or wants to play drums, or they have drums themselves, it's not easy. It's not easy, because you don't just unplug it and play in your bedroom acoustically, even if it's an electric guitar, or and obviously they got the whole the trumpet thing as well. But yeah, drums we couldn't really make happen until I was nearly finished school.
It's funny. I think it's difficult in the UK as well. This is something I've noticed, is that you don't get, I think part of the reason you don't get many sort of fledgling rock bands and stuff in the UK. In Australia, it's a real culture over there, and it still is, because every house is detached. Every home has a garage, and every home, you don't get this sort of townhousey thing unless you're in the, in the center of the cities. But even in suburbia, everything's quite separated. So you can get a drum kit and stick it in the garage, and you can go out there and practice. And if you want to start a band, you can all go and sit in the garage, and you will drive around to town, and you'll hear, the occasional band just practicing in a garage somewhere too loudly and annoying the neighbours, but not nearly like it is here.
Yeah,
it's really restrictive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, I got my first drum kit 14, 15. We put it in the garage. By this time I'd actually lived with my parents, independently for a while. They'd obviously had 2 other children, sort of brother and sister and that. And I, bearing in mind, I've been playing drums for 4 years. So I've been playing and learning grades and playing in little bands at school, playing in the school brass band as well, playing the drums and the brushes and that. I did 4 years of learning the instrument, and I got my first kit at home after 4 years of learning. Now the second weekend, and I was only allowed to play this kit, and what I used to do is I used to sellotape big, thick wads of printer paper, effectively A4 paper. I used to sellotape them to all the skins. So all you would hear is a plastic brush hitting effectively what would be an A4 notepad on each tom, and then, all over the cymbals, sellotape it all up. And it really was like a makeshift practice setup that was, I look back and it was so inoffensive. But anyway, the second Saturday I was playing along to some Led Zeppelin. So I brought my stereo down, bought myself a stereo, just a classic CD, 2-tape CDR, 6 CDR thing. Blasting some remastered Led Zeppelin in the garage, having a great time. And then there's obviously a knock at the door. Bearing in mind that all the neighbours are cutting their grass. It's a Saturday, we're in suburbia, cutting their grass on a Saturday. Of course, this twat shows up and goes, "If you don't tell your son to stop playing drums, then I will fucking tell him for you." And they threatened it. And it was like, it's a Saturday. So it was always a case of like, find a band, find somewhere, like you said, that's well out of the way, and then you can really express yourself. It's very hard to be, and I've always, honestly, guys, I've always been the same ever since. If I'm in a situation where there are other people doing something else in a similar or a small area, I get really nervy. So it could be a sound check, so it could be on a massive stage. There is somebody doing some work. You feel like it must be something that's come from growing up in that sort of way. You feel like, what's the word? You kind of feel like, oh God, I'm really going to upset these people if I play, even though I'm doing a sound check in the Apollo, or we're in Hamburg and these guys are sort of like, doing the wire for some extra, cables to the microphone. And if I hit this too loud, I'm going to get myself in trouble. And it's always been a bit of a thing. The guys will tell you that, you have this problem with drummers and how, they say, "Oh, yeah, I'm trying to tune up and you're just playing drums." I'm the opposite. I'll be like, "Do you mind if I tune?" And just be like, it's a bit of a bugbear I've always had, in terms of confidence, really, because of, growing up and not having that chance to fully express yourself until way down the line.
I'm just trying to get around the oxymoron of a considerate drummer.
Can you tell us some of the best and worst things about being in a band?
Yeah. So the best things, you get 4, 5, 6, whatever, guys, you get you guys together, guys and girls, and you create a bond that there is no, I don't believe anyway, there is a bond quite like a band brotherhood. I really don't. You see things that, it's not like a team in sports. I've used this reference before in interviews and that, but with teams, people come and go and you sub them out and you go, he's knackered, he's injured, bring in somebody else. Yeah, he works, he's got that talent on the right wing or whatever. In a band, it's you against the world. Yeah. And it's that bond that you share it's a family, but it's not a family. Yeah. You would live and die for these guys in a non-cheesy way, but it's unlike anything else where so it's great to have that bond with people that you just on a mutual love for what you're doing. And my guys are just beautiful people, aren't they? And Adam's a new addition, and Ben was lovely, and Adam's equally as awesome as well. So I'm very lucky to have that with these guys. You can't really describe it unless you have it with your bandmates. It's you tour together and you see the best and worst of each other, and you get absolutely hammered or you whatever, and you pull each other through these things, or mostly it's them pulling me out of scrapes, to be honest with you. But the good thing about it, and the experiences you share, you don't share them with anybody else. Like, you can tell people about it. Like my fiance, who's been the most supportive person in my entire life. Everything I've done, she's been right there, keeping me grounded, keeping me real, but also supporting and loving what we're doing. Without her, I wouldn't be sat here. But you don't share that with them because they see it from that still slightly outside perspective. And that's something, it's lovely to have, and that's definitely a benefit. But the bad times is, the struggle is real, isn't it? The struggle is real. You're trying to make it in a very busy, hectic society, in a world that is instant. And I can listen to a song for 20 seconds and skip to a brand new song. I don't have to change the disc and the record anymore. I can just skip adverts. I can just go there. I can ignore these guys. I can like but never see it again. And you're trying to compete in a world where you might spend 3 months working on something that you think is, you know, that you're totally in love with the concept of this idea, and it's a song or it's a video, and it's, you know, you've worked so hard together, you've had, you know, shouting matches about it, you've also, you know, made up about it and had a drink and said how cool is this or how bad is that, and then what happens is you put it out there just for somebody to go, yeah, that's all right, move on.
It must be.
That's the
and
down.
it sucks because we're in a culture now that I don't think you're saying, you know, you're sitting there listening to Led Zeppelin and playing along to that. I don't think you could, unless you're really established and people are expecting it, like Dream Theater could do it, but I don't think anybody else could, is the idea that you couldn't have Stairway to Heaven anymore because it's too long and there's too many different elements to it and there's too many movements. Bohemian Rhapsody's another great example.
Yeah.
You couldn't do it now. There's no way a radio station is going to play a 7.5 minute opus.
No.
Because it doesn't, and we're losing because of that.
Yeah, even at the time it had radio edits, didn't it? You know, even at the time it was cut short, and there was a radio, you know, these radio edits have been a thing since way back then because of the time in, like you say, the length of the record, etc. And you couldn't, today's world, like you said, imagine putting a YouTube up, you know, imagine Stairway to Heaven, one of the greatest, potentially greatest written, you know, rock and roll songs of all time or ballads of all time, and it being 7 minutes long. And if it was released in 2020, nobody would hear 7 minutes worth of music. No, it would never, ever get a full listen, ever.
There's no one to get to that section where it changes.
Yeah.
You'd be, oh, it's just a slow song.
Yeah.
And then you'd miss the, you know.
4 verses before the drum comes in, you know, you basically skip it until the song picked up for the solo. And by then you've skipped what? You probably skipped 4.5 minutes. So it's which I think this is the downside of, and this is not just music, this is business. I can't imagine trying to start a new business in this world anymore because the competition, how much money have you got for paid promotions? Basically, you know, can you put it on Facebook? Can you get it on? How it baffles me because going back to this point, nothing is original, but everything's original, but the competition is fierce, and that is savage. It doesn't matter whether you make, you know,
the world's getting faster though. That's the issue. Is the world's getting faster from something that would have taken, say, a day to make. The week after, it takes 5 minutes. So it's all about how you utilize your time. It's not working hard anymore. It's working smart. And there's always someone else that's able to work smarter. And if they're working on the same sort of thing as you might as well just drop out, haven't you? It's become light speed. This the world we live in now.
I think though, the trick is finding your uniqueness in amongst it all. Because I mean, we could say that about doing a podcast. There's loads of podcasts out there, but there's something in the chemistry that Chris and I have, and it always comes into the guests that we have as well. There's an instant chemistry that sort of develops because of the way we do it, and it works.
100%.
And that's what you build upon. You build upon that something that is, you know, the USP, if you like, the unique selling point or whatever. But it's like, you know, you talk about a band and you guys have got influences, but they're so diverse and different styles from, you know, the Beatles to Periphery, you know, depending on who's talking in the band. Yeah. And yet it all comes together and it, like you say, it forms something greater than the sum of its parts. And if you're making that music and that's what's coming out, that's the unique part of it. And I'm glad of things like Spotify now that I think has taken the power away from the radio. I think what I was talking about before is we can see that slightly changing in that people now do, yes, you've got the next song instantly on, I don't like that. And there is that element there. But there's also the people like me who will sit there and go, I want to hear the whole song before I make a judgment. Because to me, it's like going in and watching. My wife's dreadful with this. She'll say herself, we'll watch 5 minutes of a movie. No, it's boring. I can't watch any more of this. It's like, it's just started. You don't even know what's happening. No, it's boring. It's like, I tried to watch Fight Club with her, one of my favourite movies, and the whole thing was just her, it's going nowhere. No, I think I got 25 minutes in and it was like, forget it.
We'll move on to the next question. Tell us about this charity Grand Prix idea you've got.
Yeah, so your guests normally come on, if they're non-Fallen State members, they normally come on and they've got this absolutely mind-blowing idea or they're implementing something. You had a guest a little while ago who was helping out, people with disability, and it was absolutely inspirational. And such a lot. I hope I get to meet the chap one day because that was amazing. But yeah, obviously we're all locked in still. We had the news yesterday that we're not potentially really going anywhere for another 2 months, and I'm stuck here. I'm with the guys. We writing music and chatting every day and trying to keep content going for the the singles and bits and pieces. But you're also an element of like, what can I do to make a difference? What I'm just sat here sort of getting older. And getting really bad hair and stuff. And what can I really do?
Shut up about the hair, all right?
Yeah. Hey, he's bald and I'm older than you, so that really falls down on both of us, isn't it?
I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes. No.
Poor you, Rich. Poor you. Seriously.
It's not easy being a non-parent. Yeah, exactly.
My heart fucking bleeds.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm playing a lot of games, and I love motor racing. I love Formula One, etc. And I've been playing a lot of that and thinking, do you know what? Because what they've been doing is during the winter break, the sort of the winter sort of in between seasons of Formula One, is a lot of the drivers are participating in charity virtual races, and they've got their home sim gear and all this amazing stuff, and they're able to get themselves in, and they're actually got a channel that's dedicated to it, and you get to watch it, and it's all your favorite drivers and your favorite YouTubers, and they all come together for a race, and it's all for charity. And it's amazing. It's really cool because you get that. It get you a fix for your motor racing that isn't currently obviously happening at the moment, and it's also doing a good thing for charity in when people are stuck at home, and that's sort of the vibe around what I'm trying to do with this a little bit. Is I've got this idea where we can do a virtual Grand Prix, and again, this is purely an ideas thing at the moment. I'd love to set up a virtual Grand Prix, so 20 cars, 10 teams, 2 drivers per team, so 10 bands, okay. Rock bands, whatever they are, punk bands, people will follow them and fans of them, and these bands might play together. And I want to set up a Grand Prix where you've got 2 members of 10 bands racing in their respective teams or Formula One teams and their bands. And I want to do a race for charity. That's all I've got really at the moment. But I'd love to see it because it's just so inspirational watching people, be home and doing so much for these great causes and how they're able to implicate it, that I'm just sat here feeling more and more useless. So why don't I try and contribute as well, sort of thing? And it's just an idea. Hopefully I can get it off the ground and look into how we can set up a couple of races that people can watch, hopefully live, if we can get a lobby going and yes, we can watch their favorite drummers and bass players try and beat each other in a Forza or a Formula One race. So that's the idea.
That's so cool.
I'd like to watch it. I would.
Yeah,
would be cool.
I love that concept. Actually, it's just so cool.
Especially if you've got anybody out there like me who's in a band, who has also got a passion for racing or cars or whatever, and they want to put that into use, and we can try and get some sponsorship going, and get some charity donations being made from the winners and things. I think if there was a way of doing it, like I've seen the actual Formula One guys doing this, if there's a way of doing it for rock bands or for musicians, then I think, because we're all sat at home not playing gigs, and I think it'd be a great way to bring some entertainment and to do some good for some some charities like Mind and supported charities for mental health and things like that. So yeah, it's just an idea, but hopefully we'll look into it and.
It sounds good, mate. I'd definitely love to watch that. I would donate as well. It'd be quite good because if you're fans of these different bands as well, you're obviously going to be rooting on kind of who but then you also get introduced to a lot of other people as well. So I love that idea. I think it's great. Yeah, you got to get checked out. Their bands. You might not have heard their band. This guy could be winning a race, and he's from a band you've never heard of, and it's for a charity that could be really really good. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Yeah, I love it. But I want to roll back around that whole thing about wanting to just make a difference and stuff like that. I really respect that, and I think it happens at some point in life when you realise you don't just live for yourself anymore. But I wanted to say you do that anyway. Rich will know what I'm talking about in a minute, but I had this thing where it's doing the little things sometimes that you don't think really matter, but they do. They actually make a difference. A few months back, we had a situation where my daughter had she got a cough. She'd been in a car with somebody who had a cough in her taxi going to school. And we got this call from the school saying, she's been in a taxi and someone coughed. We know it's probably nothing, but,
you're going to have to isolate until you can get her tested for COVID. So we now have to self-isolate, and we really didn't have much in the way of food in the house. So I put out a quick Facebook emergency, please. Anyone in the area heading to Sainsbury's today can pick up a few bits. I got one response. I got a few. Like, oh, sorry, I can't. Rich message. Yeah, I'm there, mate. I'm there, mate. And so 2 hours later, I get Rich rocking up at the door with a couple of bags from Sainsbury's, and my daughter lost it. Oh, there's a celebrity dropping off my bag, because I listen to you guys all the time. And she's, to her, it was like it might as well have been Kirk Hammett or Elton John at the door. It was.
If you ordered him off Wish, you mean? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we got a fantastic photo. Rich signed the receipt for her as a signature, which she had. And they got a photo of like self-distance between for our front door with my daughter there, like And we got this photo of them both. It's just hilarious, but it's those little things. I think sometimes we always look at the big grand gestures, but those little things make a huge difference to people.
Absolutely. And you know what? It's nice to give something back as well, because people tell us that our music, it means the world to us, that people feel about this with songs like Nova and stuff that we put out. Did it helps them in any way? That's amazing for us, but you don't get as much, I'm speaking for myself here, you don't get as much, like joy out of that, because you still feel like you could do more. So you say, oh, that, Nova, that really helped them, that's amazing. But there's still a part of that. I wrote that song, or we wrote that song for us as well. And you don't feel like you're giving enough back. And that's just me. And I know it's amazing to hear that, our music does help people in whatever way. It really is. And I appreciate it so much, honestly, so much. But to try and, to you guys, you've been so supportive of us, and your family have, and it means the world to us that any chance to show any form of appreciation from our end, I just jump on it. And I didn't do it for that, please. I didn't do that. I genuinely helping a mate out. Do you know what I mean? But it was fine. It was almost like, oh, finally I get to give something back to somebody who's supported us so much. And it was kind of like, yes, let's get this, let's do this, because I've got time and I'm able to do that. And it really was a case of it was nice to give something back, I think. So
it was really cool.
It was good to see the family as well, bless them. Yeah, it was good to turn up on the door and hey back, yeah. But,
it really was fun. It could have been the Queen. It was just
Like I said, it was like Kirk Hammett if you got him off Wish.
Exactly.
We're going to move on to our kind of a little bit of a speed round, and it's about the fallen state. So the question itself, for each individual question, is going to begin with who would win in the fallen state. The first one is an eating contest.
John.
The X Factor.
Adam.
The weakest link.
John.
A question of sport.
Greg.
100-meter race. Sprint, we'll call it.
That'll have to be Greg. He's got legs the size of flipping emus.
No, I don't want to talk out of turn here, but yeah, Greg might get beaten. I'm going to say Dan. Dan is even Dan's been through the wars, and Dan's been through some stuff that I don't wish on absolutely anybody whatsoever. But that guy, despite the fact he's been through all of that, would still beat me and Greg in a 100-meter sprint.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's try and give you one now. FIFA or COD?
COD.
No, would you win it? Who would win it?
FIFA or COD? Who would win it? Sorry.
If you played FIFA or COD, let's call it computer games. And if we want to give you one, let's call it Formula One racing.
Yeah,
are you gonna shortchange yourself again?
It's going to be me, mate.
Obviously, and this is the thing with any musicians, when you're starting out, and even when you're in an established band these days, you've got to do more than just play in a band. And you're a chef, or you were chefing. How did that work?
Yeah, it's mad. Like the other guys in the band, we all do different things. Me and Greg have worked together a couple of times actually. Greg came and helped me on the bar when I was 22, and I took on the lease for a restaurant, believe it or not, way before the fallen state. Yeah, so I was a licensee by 21, fast tracked my way through it and became, sort of bar supervision and front of house and silver service and things like that in the local area. For tourism is obviously a big thing in this area, and it's all very seasonal work. So you
that's at 21. That's mad.
Yeah. So my you get 10 years on your alcohol license, and mine expired in 2020, and it was 10 years old, and I'm 32. So it was So I'm pretty young to be jumping into it. So I jumped into this restaurant by having worked for another restaurateur had sent me there because he still had the lease and he still had a contractual obligation to keep this place open. He sent me there. Very long story short, his lease ran out. They offered me to take this place on. I said, yeah, go on. I've got no money, but I've got 6 years experience from, leaving school and getting straight into it with absolutely not a penny to my name. I brought 2 chefs with me, and we ran this restaurant near Torrington, and it went not very well, sort of thing, as you can imagine. So, got back with Greg, we were jamming with the band, and the Fallen State was in its early days, and I was going through this sort of pub thing where I was, 15 grand in debt at 22 from, trying to pay the bills, and I was paying my chefs in cider because I had no money. I was paying the rent, and, the classic kitchen nightmares thing. My fiance always says, you should, back then you should have called, Gordon Ramsay would have come and helped you out. And I said, well, the thing is, yeah, it would have been terrifying, but in hindsight, it probably could have worked as a kitchen nightmare in itself. Anyway.
I don't know how I feel. They're also manufactured to make you so angry.
I know. Well, the American
you
ones,
never see anyone go, oh, no, you're right, Gordon. No, you're right. I suck and I need to do this. They've always got to have some kind of a beef.
Yeah, the American series that he did of Hotel Hell and Kitchen Nightmares, there's so much scened, faked elements to it where they're sort of like, me, man, this is my pub, man, and it's kind of like. But honestly, the early days, the early 2004, 2005 stuff that Ramsay started doing in the UK is really bare bones and raw, and it is actually very it's a really good watch because obviously it's not aged well because of the how things have progressed, but it's raw and it's just got an energy to it. The Americans just kind of jumped all over it and made it into a bit of a drama series. But going back, left this restaurant in 2013 and decided that I was in debt up to my eyeballs, and I dragged my dad and things down with me, and it was a really sort of difficult time. But the band was actually jamming, and I met Dan a few months prior, and Greg, and the 3 of us were jamming some stuff out. And then I went back to college and studied music because I thought I've never actually studied music. Well, I had briefly, but never actually really pursued it. Get to college, I met my fiance there. She was studying a different course to do with music. And then we met Ben and John, and he was, he's teaching there at the time. And that's where so I do believe in a certain way that like everything happens for a reason, because if this restaurant had taken off, I probably would have said no to the Fallen State and said, you know what, guys, I'm too busy. If the restaurant would have been a success, there's a very good chance I would have turned around to Greg and Dan at the time and said, look, I can't start this band. I'm too busy. I'm running this business, and it's what I've turned my career into at the time, but it didn't, and it ended up being what it was. But as most people know in today's world, even the top dogs aren't making a lot of money in music and art. So we do have to work, and we all work really hard, and we all do our different things. But I've been chefing I would say for the last 6 or 7 years. I never trained. I was always front of house, always doing, like I say, the waitering and the bar side of things. And I studied that a bit more intensely than the kitchen. But having been around kitchens and had a passion for the restaurant and hotel trade for so long, that I just fell into the kitchen, basically. And it went from there. And it all kind of came to a head when I was in March 2018. I was offered a head chef's job in a gastro seafood seaside pub restaurant. And I'd had enough experience, and, he'd seen me cook and said, look, for what we're doing, this isn't fine dining. You're going to be fine. Brilliant. Created this lovely, sort of bit of a bistro menu, and it was really, really going well. But 2018 was such a pivotal year for the Fallen State, because we were finishing writing the album. It was going to be our first, obviously, A Dead Set Devil was going to be our debut album. We were finishing writing it. We toured in March. So I'd been in this job for 2 weeks before I disappeared off, and this guy had to find a temp chef to cover I'd been there for 2 weeks. Next thing you know, I'm on tour. So we're in Exeter, for example, with like 3 days into this tour. And my boss calls me up and he goes, Rich, the chef that I've hired has walked out. What do I do? And of course, I'm on tour with the band, and this is our headline tour as well. And it's this guy's ringing me up saying, "You either get back here or you find me a chef for tonight's service." Bang, sort of thing. And these are the struggles basically that everybody, not just us, but everybody in this creative industry these days has to deal with. This issue of balancing family, keeping your head above water, paying the bills, but pursuing what you love and what you want to do. And 2018 was such a mad year because we obviously toured then, came to the summer. I get 3 weeks notice. Oh, by the way, Greg calls me up saying, Tremonti's team have said, yes, we can tour the UK with Tremonti. And it was like, fuck, wow. Shit, Christ, and trying to prepare for that. And it was the summer season of the restaurant, so it was busy, but I had a bit more of a team behind me, so I could kind of leave them to it a little bit more, and it went a bit smoother. Next thing you know, 3 weeks in the recording studio with a dead set endeavor and the guys, so of course by this point I'm 6 months into my head chef's job, a job that I really thought I could do well, make some money here and progress my career, and I've already taken 7 weeks off in 6 months, and my boss is going, are you for real? I've got 10 chefs coming and going. Do you want this job? And I'm like, yeah, please. I'll be back and I'll do breakfast and I'll do it all for free and all the rest of it. It is that juggling act of trying to pursue. And again, it's not just me. It's not just that particular trade, but it's trying to find the flexible way of paying the bills and keeping yourself afloat and pursuing your interests, as well as maintaining.
It's an element people don't think about.
People don't think about it at all.
Especially, there's something that drives me nuts about the music industry, which is, there's some great memes out there that I've seen about it, which is like, it's the only place where you spend £1,000 on gear, £500 on transport, £100 to the barman for the opportunity to play for 25 quid. It's like,
when you consider that everything a band makes, and I would say the Fallen State is doing okay for itself. You've got 5 guys plus background management plus publishing plus production and these things, people don't take it into account. They buy a t-shirt and think, oh, brilliant, I really, and again, it means the world, but it's that whole thing of, even at our level where we're doing quite well and we're having a well of a time still, we've all still got to support your families and pay the rent and the bills. So people don't always take it into consideration when they see you that you've actually been on the phone to your boss who's saying, get back here for service, or find your P45 when you come back from your tour. But you kind of go, oh, it's going to be a fucking great show tonight then, boys. And it's what you do, and it's the choices you've made. But without any of those choices, you wouldn't be where you are. I wouldn't be sat here talking to you about this band that is my life, and I love these guys, and I love what we do so much. Something's got to give, and it's just about people understanding that when they come and see you and they say hello, and you look like you've done 10 rounds with Tyson and you're half cut because you haven't eaten and slept, and they good show, and you think thank you ever so much, that's why we're here, and it means the world. But fucking hell, behind the scenes is a fucking mess, that's basically that's just an insight into and it's the same for the other guys and what they do. They work incredibly hard in their different industries, and Dan's got 2 beautiful kids, and how he does it and how he manages the band and work, and then his family life, I just take my hat off.
I think you said it before, I think having the support of partners that really understand, and you're saying it about your own fiance and how amazing she is. She's so proud of you. I love it when we bumped in. She's always almost got a bigger smile at the attention that you're getting than you have. It's so cool to see.
Honestly, I want to give her a shout out, Maya. She's been amazing. Like I said, without her and her support of her family, and obviously my own family through all the years as well, without that support, without having somebody to turn to and saying, can I do this? Do I do this? What do we do? Do I say no, or do I do, without being grounded by somebody, and you guys, that's not just music, that's everything, like what you guys are doing as well. Without having somebody to turn to and say, which way shall I turn? Yeah. You can't ever expect to be anywhere. You can't do it on your own. I
think you needed to keep your own head at a level as well, don't you?
Yeah.
Because there's so much that can feed into, and I think it's why mental health gets such a beating in the music industry, because you're constantly getting rejected or having to juggle this stuff. But more than that, you've got so many people feeding you you are great, you are wonderful, and unless you've got somebody who's going to go, this is getting to you, you get the whole sort of the 80s thing of ridiculous bands that just live for the sex and the partying and forget the music. Yeah, you got to have that. You got to have that grounding somehow, and you need people you can trust who aren't just going to be yes men and sycophants who are actually going to.
Yeah, no, you're dead right, 100%. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen that meme, but it's that picture of that like rock and roll backstage party where what my girlfriend thinks I do after a show, and it's kind of underwear and these guys with big hair, and it's like drink and smoking. And then what actually happens, and I'll tell you what actually happens, is it's 5 guys fighting over 2 chairs and 1 phone charger, 2 chairs in a room that has an empty fridge and 2 fucking chairs in it, and it's give me the fucking charger, you know. And that is,
and it's an Android charger, but you've got an iPhone.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of like, I'll ring you back. I've got 1% battery and I need the click track for the live show, and we're on in fucking 10 minutes. Yeah. So it is that balancing act, and without the support. And I want to thank Maya and her family and everybody and my own guys and, you know, guys in the band and for the support, and you know, we get through it together, and we wouldn't, like I said, without you guys and our fans, we wouldn't be anywhere without each other either. So it's a bit of an appreciation for them as well as everybody else, you know, the people behind the scenes, the people that keep you grounded. And I think we all need that in our lives, I think.
Thanks so much for joining us, guys. That was fantastic. I want to thank, as always, Chris.
Thank you, mate. And we want to thank our guest this week. You have been absolutely fantastic, mate. And we are making our way through the band now, aren't we? We are.
You've only got the 2 boring guys left. I'm joking. No, thanks for having me, guys. Really enjoyed it, and I love the podcast, and just keep doing it, because it's bringing a lot of us a lot of joy. So thank you, and keep going. It's wicked.
That means a lot. Thanks, man.
Thanks so much.
Please do like this episode. Please do subscribe. Hit that bell so that you know when we got new content. And we want to hear in the comments. We want to hear your funny story. If you're in a band and you've got some funny stories, chuck them in. We'll try and share them on the next episode. Please do stay safe, and hopefully we'll all be out of this horrible situation soon. But we'll see you again next time.